Throughout 2022, we have brought you the economic news week after week. And looking back over the year, if there was one word I would use to sum it all up, it would be volatility. The volatility that characterized so much of 2022 was driven by a variety of powerful catalysts, from stubbornly high inflation to the largest ground war in Europe since World War II. As we prepare to start all over again in 2023, let's take a look at some of what made 2022 one of the most tumultuous years on record. Inflation was at the top of a long list of drivers of both domestic and global volatility in 2022. Years of fiscal and monetary excess, rooted in stimulus rescue efforts, had profound implications on consumer prices around the world. A number of advanced Western European economies saw double-digit inflation this year, including the United Kingdom, Germany, and Italy. Here in the U.S., annual inflation averaged more than 8% through all of 2022. And there were additional sources of price pressures that intensified the underlying monetary inflation that we experienced in 2022. These price pressures were driven by supply shocks triggered by the ongoing health crisis and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Let's take a closer look at each of those pressures. First, supply shocks. Most of the world resumed normal business operations in 2022. However, China, the world's largest exporter, maintained its zero corona policy, which subjected tens of millions of Chinese to lengthy lockdowns. The lockdowns were enforced mostly around Shanghai, the nation's industrial center. The resulting upheaval to global supply chains further aggravated what was already a worldwide inflation nightmare. Then, in February, global upheaval was further intensified by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, which kicked off Europe's largest ground war since World War II. The most profound implications of the conflict include unimaginable human suffering, as well as obvious risks to geopolitical stability. The economic implications have been significant as well. The war is playing out in a region that has supplied much of the world's food and energy for a long time. Disruptions to the flow of essential commodities from this now war-torn region have worsened an already substantial global inflation problem. Where there's inflation, you'll find interest rate increases, and there were plenty of those in 2022. In March, the Federal Reserve began one of its most draconian rate tightening regimes in its history. From March through December, the central bank hiked rates 7 times, including 4 increases of a whopping 75 basis points each. All of the relentlessly high inflation and jolting interest rate hikes had a tremendous price for Americans this year. To keep up with the significantly higher cost of living this year, Americans relied more than ever on credit, and they drained their savings. Total household debt soared to a record $16.5 trillion in 2022, while the personal savings rate fell to its lowest level in 17 years. I could go on and on. There is, of course, the highly contentious midterm elections that underscored how truly divided our nation is right now. And let's not forget the 2 straight quarters of negative GDP recorded earlier this year, which sent our economy into a technical recession. The impact of all this turbulence on the financial strength of American households has been enormous. In just the first 3 quarters of 2022, real household wealth fell by $13.5 trillion. Looking back on 2022, it's clear that it was an incredibly volatile year that created a lot of pain for American households. Believe it or not, there are credible projections that next year could even be more volatile and more painful than 2022. In an upcoming video, I'll share what we might have in store next year, and I'll give you a simple strategy that you can implement now that might lessen the pain. I suggest you take the time to learn more about what's really going on in the economy by attending our exclusive one-on-one web conference at AugustaPreciousMetals.com/webconference.